Hey YouTube fam, if you're just joining me, my name is Crystal Perham. I am a real estate broker, entrepreneur, wife, mother. I've been in the real estate industry for about 15 years now. I currently oversee about 60 agents at my firm. Today's video is going to be all about major misconceptions that people make when they decide to get into real estate. So here we go, let's get into it. Number one, when I always meet with an agent who's thinking about getting into the real estate industry, and the very first conversation we have, I ask them, why do you want to get into real estate? I hear they say to me, their schedule. Having your own schedule in this business is one of the biggest misconceptions that most people make. They believe because they are a business owner and they are a 1099 contractor that they can make their own schedule. And while that may be true in some cases, that is not always the case. If you have little ones, especially elementary grade school children, this can be really challenging. One of the biggest things is if we have a buyer and they work a 9 to 5, then guess what? If they're shopping for a home and you are their agent, they are going to be looking to go on the nights and weekends. So you don't get a lot of flexibility with that. The other piece of that is that many times an agent, when they take that listing, they're going to work with the seller to schedule an open house where they are going to hold all showings. I know this is true for our area. If this is not true for your area, definitely I'd like to hear about it in the comments down below. But when we got into COVID a couple of years ago, one of the big things that real estate agents started doing was scheduling open houses on the weekend and telling everybody they had to wait for the open house. So even if your client can come and see that home on Tuesday evening at 5 and you're available then, that listing agent may say you can't go until Saturday from 12 to 2. Now this can definitely pose a challenge if you had other plans. So again, just another reasoning why I say that making your own schedule is not always the case. The next thing I'm going to point out is that this business is expensive. Many people don't think that it costs that much money to get into real estate, but boy, are many of them wrong. If you haven't seen my other video linked down below about what it costs to get your real estate business up and running, you definitely want to check that out. But number two, I am going to say it is expensive. If you are thinking you're going to get into this business as part-time, or it's just going to be a hobby, you really aren't doing it for the money, I can tell you that this is one of the most expensive hobbies that there possibly is. And I would definitely consider watching my other video about all the expenses that go into it. Just to get licensed is expensive. So that's my number two. Number three, major misconception is that it's easy. Everybody likes to think that they're going to get into the real estate business and they're going to be selling those big, beautiful, grand homes. The $1 million, $2 million homes that they see on $1 million listing. Think again. When you first get into this business, a lot of times you are going to be working with a lower price point. That is just kind of how it is. It's like anything else. You start at the bottom and you work your way up. And while that is not true for everybody, there are people who come into this business and can finagle to make a niche for themselves and get off and running. That is not always the case. Depending on your market is going to make that deciding factor, going to be the number one things that fuel that. If your average selling home price, your median home price is $250,000 to $300,000, then you may be starting out selling condos, townhomes that are $150,000 to $200,000, and that first-time home buyer home that might be around that $200,000 to $250,000. So while everybody thinks that we're just going to turn those doors for those multi-million-dollar homes, think again. Now that is again not true. If you live in a place like California and your average home price is $600,000 to $700,000, well then that could be very lucrative. But in a lot of parts of our country, That is just not the way that the average home prices are valued, so you want to expect that. Number 4, it is not easy and you should pack your patience. Again, I'm going to refer back to my video, to the end of my video that talks all about the expenses and costs of getting into this business. I do touch base at the end of that video about what you can expect, but if you are not a patient person, this business can be challenging. A lot of agents don't realize that when they first get in, they are not going to walk into real estate and the very day that they have their license be out with clients. You have to work to find those clients. And so that is true. You really do need to bring your patience. A lot of times your very first closing could be 3 to 6 months out, and that is if you are one of the lucky ones that really worked for it. So again, you need to have some patience in this business. While this is not quick money, we're not selling used cars. We're dealing with people's emotions and the biggest asset of their life, and sometimes that can take a while. Number 5 is this business is tough. We deal with the public, right? So we are dealing with, in many cases, lots of big personalities, lots of emotional people, emotional purchases, emotional sales. We are dealing in their biggest investment of their entire lives. So we need to understand that in some cases, it can get really stressful. Agents can sometimes be stressed, sellers can sometimes be stressed, and buyers can sometimes be stressed. And while we are trying to manage everybody's stresses in some cases, we are dealing with a ton of working parts. That home sale may start with us helping find them a home and that other agent, and you have a buyer and seller, but then we are dealing with inspectors, appraisers, lenders, title companies, and attorneys, and by the time that is all said and done, it can be stressful. To just talk about my personal experience a little bit, I can tell you I have had more transactions that were pretty sticky with more bumps in the road than I have had transactions that were smooth sailing all the way to the end. So one of the things that when you get in this business, you will need to learn how to manage your stress. Part of dealing with our clients is confidentiality, and when things are going wrong, that might mean you have nobody to turn to, vent with, or tell. So you have to learn to manage that stress internally, right, amongst yourself. So with that said, just know that it can be stressful. My next and last tip is, and the biggest misconception about real estate is that we make a lot of money. And while that is true for the top 10% of most real estate agents across the country, that is not true for everyone. So to give you a scenario, I'm going to put it like this. You finally find a buyer and you go to that home. Let's say conservatively, they make an offer and you get that offer accepted at $400,000. Now let's say that seller or co-broke is offering you a 2% commission. $400,000 at a 2% commission is $8,000. You're thinking that's pretty good. But let's say you took 3 months with that buyer to work with them to find that home, and it'll be another 30 days to close. You've been now working for that $8,000 for 120 days. So right there, you're down to $2,000 a month is what you made on that one client. But wait a minute, your brokerage, when you signed up with them, they're going to take a piece. And depending on what you negotiated when you first started, it could be a big piece. I have seen upwards of 50%. But let's say, for the heck of this video, they're going to take 25%. So now we're going to take that $8,000 and that $8,000 becomes $6,000. You're not done. You had all of those expenses and time and marketing and whatever else you put into getting that transaction off the ground while you were working with this client. You're going to deduct that. Now, whatever is remaining, Uncle Sam is coming in for a major piece. Remember, the one thing everyone forgets in real estate, we are business owners, and that's right. That means we pay taxes like a business owner. We are going to be paying the employee side of our income and the employer side of our income. So that means that you can expect that Uncle Sam is going to come in and take, could be upwards of 30%, maybe more, of whatever is remaining of that check. So let's just say, for the sake of this video, that $8,000 now becomes $4,000. We've paid our brokerage, we've taken away our expenses, and we paid Uncle Sam. You just made $4,000 for 4 months of work. It doesn't sound so great anymore, does it? So that is going to be my last point of the biggest misconceptions in real estate. If you like this video, you like this content, definitely click that subscribe button and check out some of my other videos. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you on the flip side. Talk to you soon.